Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a really incredible era in Middle-earth's history, focusing specifically on the chapter of the Sindar. We're going to track the rise of a wildly advanced elven society, the absolutely terrifying sudden return of an ancient evil, and the desperate magical measures they had to take just to survive.
Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting the rise of the Sindawn, their alliance with the Dwarves, the forging of the Thousand Caves, the era where shadows gather and armament begins, the first battle, and we'll wrap up with the Girdle of Melian. Let's see how an untouchable paradise handled a brutal reality check.
I want to start with this quote, because it just perfectly captures the tragic irony of this whole era. Right out of the gate, we're being told that this beautiful, idyllic peace is fragile. It's a reminder that history, and honestly the best songs, are usually forged in peril and conflict, not when everything is going perfectly.
Let's jump right into Section 1, Rise of the Sindar, the Grey Elves of starlit Beleriand.
So, even though they never crossed the sea to see the light of the Divine Realm, the Sindar essentially became the pinnacle of elven society in Middle-earth. And that's almost entirely thanks to Melian the Maya. By freely sharing her immense divine knowledge, she and King Thingol elevated the Grey Elves way above anyone else left on the continent.
Just picture this for a second. While most of Middle-earth is basically lying in this deep, magical coma, waiting for the sun and moon to be created, Beleriand is entirely different. It's this thriving, joyous haven lit only by silver starlight. And this pristine golden age totally peaks with the birth of Thingol and Melian's only child, Luthien, in the forest of Neldoreth. It was a moment so profoundly pure that white flowers literally sprang up from the earth just to greet her.
Moving on to Section 2, Alliance with the Dwarves, Masters of Stone, enter Beleriand.
Talk about a massive culture shock, right? On one hand, you have the Sindar, deeply connected to forests and starlight, who genuinely believed they were the only speaking beings in the entire world. Then, over the mountains, come the Nogrim, the Dwarves. They are obsessed with the earth, metals, and their maker, Ale. The elves actually found the Dwarven language so clunky and unlovely that they barely even wanted to speak it. But despite all this cultural friction, they were pragmatic. They traded knowledge, and the Dwarves even built a massive road connecting their two worlds.
All right, Section 3, the Thousand Caves, forging Menegroth. Now here's where things get real. Right in the middle of this perfect golden age, Melian's foresight kicks in. She knows the Dark Lord Melkor is locked away, but she also knows it's not going to last forever. She warns Thingol that their peace is on a timer. It's an incredible piece of proactive leadership, honestly. Because of her warning, Thingol reaches out to the Dwarves to build a secure, heavily fortified underground fortress long before any actual threat shows up.
And the collaboration to build this place, Menegroth, the Thousand Caves, is just legendary. First, the Dwarves delve deep into the earth beside the river. To pay them, Thingol brings out something totally alien to the mountain dwellers, Nymphalos. It's this giant pearl that literally shines like starlight, and the Dwarven chieftain prized it more than a mountain of gold. Together, the elves and dwarves completely transformed the caves, carving massive stone pillars to look like living beech trees and hanging golden lanterns everywhere. It was hands down the fairest dwelling of any king east of the sea.
Which brings us to Section 4, Shadows Gather and Armament, the Peace Breaks.
Imagine being Thingol and hearing this from the Dwarves. As they traveled back and forth for trade, they brought this incredibly dark news. It was the signal that wolves, dark spirits, and eventually orcs were slowly bleeding into Beleriand. The evil remnant of the north was waking up, multiplying in the shadows and testing the elven borders. The Golden Peace was officially over.
So, let's look at the board as war approaches. We basically have three allied factions trying to hold the line. In central Beleriand, you have the powerful Sindar under Thingol. To the east, holding the Blue Mountains, are the heavily armored Dwarves. And then there's a wild card, the Nandor. Led by Denethor, these woodland elves had actually fled the encroaching beasts out east, coming to Osiririan to seek Thingol's protection. The problem? They are super lightly armed, which puts them at a terrifying disadvantage.
To survive, Thingol kicks off a massive, rapid arms race. Think about it. Before this, his people didn't even need weapons. He immediately commissions the greatest dwarven smiths, including the legendary Telchar. The Sindar are quick studies. They learn smithcraft themselves and start stockpiling swords, spears, and axes. Most importantly, they get their hands on unrivaled dwarven steel. We're talking chainmail that literally never rusts and always looks freshly burnished. This rapid militarization is absolutely going to save them.
And that leads right into Section 5, the first battle, War in Beleriand.
When the assault finally happens, it's fast and it's brutal. Morgoth's orcs pour down in a two-pronged attack, hitting Thingol's kingdom from both the east and the west. Tragedy strikes almost instantly. Denethor and his lightly armed Nandor are surrounded at Aemon Areb, and Denethor is cut down before Thingol's forces can reach them. But then comes the counterattack. Thingol's well-armed Sindar smash right into the orcs' rear line, completely crushing them. And as the surviving orcs try to flee back north, the dwarves come pouring down from the mountains and wipe them out.
The aftermath of this battle is just a study in contrasts. The Sindar, thanks to that dwarven steel, were victorious, though they did pull back to their central realm. But the Nandor? They were absolutely decimated by the iron-shod orcs. The trauma of losing Denethor was so intense that the survivors completely swore off open war forever. They started wearing leaf-colored clothing, rebranded themselves as the Green Elves, and basically faded into absolute secrecy within the forests.
Finally, Section 6, the Girdle of Melian, a kingdom guarded.
Now, while Thingol was crushing the Eastern army, things out west were really bad. The western Orc host actually cornered the elven shipbuilder Círdan right at the edge of the sea. Seeing Beleriand being overrun forced Thingol and Melian into a desperate, massive defensive maneuver. Melian draws on her immense power and weaves the Girdle of Melian. It's this unseen, magical wall of shadow and bewilderment. If you tried to cross it without Thingol or Melian's permission, you wouldn't hit a physical wall. You just wander endlessly, completely lost in a maze of shadows. The realm inside became known as Doriath, the guarded kingdom. So while the rest of Beleriand is falling into total ruin and fear, the central kingdom is locked down, safe and untouchable.
So, we've watched the Sindar navigate this beautiful golden age, build an alliance with the Dwarves, and just barely survive the opening moves of a devastating war by literally hiding behind a magical barrier. But just when they think they've stabilized the board, a completely shocking, unforeseen event happens on the western coast. Fires light up the sky at Losgar. It leaves us with a massive question. As Fëanor and his mighty host of exiles arrive from across the sea, burning their own ships behind them, how is this explosive arrival going to completely upend the fate of Middle-earth? And what on earth does it mean for the guarded, hidden realm of the Sindar? We'll have to explore that next time.